I want to like rhythm because of its tremendous vowel efficiency, especially because the only vowel it uses is Y, kind of the reject of vowels, at least the most difficult and confusing one to use. But it's got too many things going on in its structure that confuse people and can just screw you up when trying to spell it. Whoever thought that they needed an H before the Y in that word is just an awful human being that thankfully is probably deceased at this point. We don't need them in today's Intuico flow. And then to not have another vowel at the end of rhythm is just kind of confusing. I intuitively always expect an O at the end. And the sound that a lot of people make, rhythm, you would think it kind of sounds like um. So either of those could have worked, but instead they went with none, so it's THM to end. It just doesn't work well. It's super clunky and awkward. So I commend the unorthodox nature of rhythm, but it's too easy to trip up on, so we're changing it. And what we're changing it to is okay dance. And that pronunciation is mandatory because it goes into the definition and origin of okay dance. Because rhythm is essentially comfortability with cadence and the smooth transition and transversion of time. So cadence makes up the large majority of that word. And when you have great rhythm at just about anything that it applies to, whether you're rapping, dancing, you're in a rhythm in a sport, what can people's reaction be? It's like, okay. Like they're surprised. They're saying okay, but it ain't because you okay. You're more than okay. That's where the inflection comes in. So this word cannot simply be okay-dance. It has to be okay-dance. And if you do the little shimmy oscillation while you're saying it, that's a great addition. Quick note of spelling on okay-dance. Even though we are borrowing from cadence and using that as the core of the word, the spelling aspects are different. We actually start with O and K, because that's really what you're saying at the start. And then instead of spelling the cadence part of it traditionally, we actually have D-A-N-C-E, so it's like dance, because rhythm absolutely surrounds dance. Like musically, of course, they're directly linked, and dance in itself, like rhythm, is extremely important. But even sports, like they'll be like, oh, he's dancing on them. So in that realm where rhythm is relevant, it also applies. So that's where all the spelling elements come in. And I really think that it would be a lot of fun to make sure that this is pronounced this way. Even if you're like whispering, do please try to put the inflection into there and a little bit of energy into it. Just makes it so much more fun, and it gets the point across. By the way, if you like the shirt, it comes from a couple people that know a whole lot about okay dance. And that would be Gavin and X Games. Gavin is the guy who shows up in these comments all the time. X Games is a friend of mine that's really great with making beats. Also a talented artist, talented graphical artist too. Dude's just talented in general, if we're being honest. And they've got an album, 5th year, coming out in probably a little less than 2 weeks now. So I just got this shirt today and I'm excited about it. Now let's move on to our comment of the day, which comes from half of this duo, Gavin. Gavin said, remember Applebee's when we had to get hors d'oeuvres on that machine? Lame. Waiters' S's are getting... Oh. Yes, Gavin, I do happen to remember Applebee's, considering it was last night. Honestly, I don't even really know what you guys were doing with that machine and why you were paying in cash. I feel like you just always use card at this point. I think that's the smart thing to do. And then when you go off to do scandalous shit, that's where you bring out the cash, and then you got it locked and loaded. We're gonna get off this topic. We got decent Wiplish usage. I almost didn't even recognize the at the end, and I thought you were trying to say that they were getting an L, as in losing, but you meant as in not putting forth any effort. So that almost did slip by me. I forget about that change sometimes. It's so great. I actually really like that one. We're gonna hit you with 59 out of 103. Then for the song of the day, I chose Victory by Puff Daddy, which is just a tremendous, badass, classical hip-hop song. It's got Notorious B.I.G. and Busta Rhymes, as well as Diddy, I think is most of what comprises Puff Daddy. And I figured it was good to pull it out since the Timberwolves did pull out the Game 1 victory over the Grizzlies. Awesome game to watch, super exciting, was really happy about it. And so I thought that this was fitting for the day. Then the video of the day, we have another thing that could pertain to the Timberwolves, as we have this interview of, I think it's a high school football player, talking about his teammates, and he just says that they're all dogs individually, and it was super great to watch. This is how I feel about the entire Timberwolves roster. Might have to make an edit like that sometime soon.
So we got Aiden Dennis, dog. Dodie Devon, dog. RJ Hogue, dog. Evan Linker, man. He's a linebacker in my eyes, but I guess he can run the ball. Dog.
And by the way, you only have to watch probably the first 40 seconds probably of this video, because the rest is like a news clip talking about it, which, who cares? But it was kind of hard to find the original clip in isolation for me, so that's why we have this longer version. But yeah, just watch like the first 40 seconds probably. And that'll do it for the Daily Doopy Zoo.